Welcome to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast, the go-to platform for insights into the transformational role of small businesses in our communities, both locally and globally. I'm your host SK, and in today's episode, we are diving deep into the fascinating world of small business dynamics. Our focus will be on the shifting landscape of consumer behaviors, the changing expectations in the retail sector, and the groundbreaking impact of generative AI on shopping patterns. Let's embark on this enlightening journey together. Today, we are honored to have Vinayak Ballachanda Madappa with us. Vinayak is a strategic advisor partner at Capgemini Canada and a renowned expert in data analytics with a global experience footprint. His career includes significant roles at PwC and KPMG, making him a treasure trove of knowledge in transforming data into actionable insights. We are eager to learn from Vinayak's vast experience as we explore how small businesses can effectively navigate the complexities of today's consumer trends and technological advancements. Good morning, Vinayak, and welcome to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. How are you today?
Very well. Thank you, SK. Thanks for having me here.
It's a pleasure to have you here with us, Vinayak. Your journey through the realms of data analytics and consumer insights is truly remarkable. Now, in a rapidly changing economic climate, understanding consumer concerns about personal finances is the key. What does the report, what matters to today's consumer, recommend to retailers looking to keep up with the consumer demands in 2024?
So, SK, you're right. Consumer finances are top of mind. We've seen that consistently coming up over the last two reports. That being said, we've started to see a change and a shift in that they are less stressed about their personal finances. We've seen a shift in the demographic where the lower and middle income are still worried about personal finances, and they're looking now for retailers and grocers to provide a lot of support in reducing cost, and they would probably respond by giving them loyalty and purchasing as their personal finance situation improves. The major part of their concern has been abated due to the interest rate being stabilized over the last few months. We're seeing a slightly improved outlook, but 2024 will be an interesting year to see how personal finances are being handled by consumers in and how the retailers are responding to their consumer behaviors.
Yeah. And how can small businesses apply these recommendations to enhance their customer experiences?
So as you can see in the report, one of the key areas of focus was leveraging technologies more effectively. Uh, Retailers, small and medium enterprises should adopt and embrace automation. And that is a critical component, especially in reducing labor cost, which is one of the highest cost drivers in the market. We also are looking at automation and using technologies more effectively to standardize process, as well as adopting and embracing data. I'm biased towards data, but
Right.
data is a critical aspect in understanding how your operational performance is being measured, how are you doing, how are your consumers reacting to you. So these are two or three of the key measures that the report suggests, and we're seeing in the market that every company, including SMEs, need to start to consider in their strategy.
Yeah, Vinayak, your insights provides a valuable perspective for small businesses to adapt to evolving consumer financial concerns. Like as customer expectations shift, retailers must adapt to stay relevant. Could you share insights in this regard and how these have evolved over recent years?
So, in terms of the consumer finances, we're seeing that while consumers are less stressed from last year, there's still a focus on where they're spending their dollars. For example, um, the trends we're seeing is that consumers are continuing to reduce their impulse buys, their non-essential buys, and this is impacting areas like health and beauty products. Consumers are starting to explore mass discount retailers rather than specialty retailers, purely because they're looking at the best deal. People, they are spending time online looking for different products. So consumers are becoming more conscious, and they're looking for retailers to start to identify areas to drive costs down, provide personalized insights and recommendations so that it's relevant to me. And thirdly, They want to be able to understand the impact of the purchasing patterns. So those are a couple of the key trends we're seeing, which are starting to come out more strongly in the consumer behaviors. And sustainability, of course, is top of mind for most consumers.
Right. And what strategies can small retailers employ to meet these changing expectations effectively?
So that's a very interesting question, right? Because you have strategies which impact the consumers directly. You have strategies which impact your own operations. So I think underpinning all of this is definitely identifying what are those key measures you want to put in place to improve your operational performance. Uh, One of the key aspects is, again, I talked about automation, but if you look at your manufacturing and your production process, the use of IoT and sensor based information to make sure that your production is operating smoothly, that you're able to have clear insight as to how you're operating. Those are some of the ways that companies can start to improve their operational performance. Bringing in automation in repeatable, highly repeatable processes like finance and payroll can start to improve efficiency and also the employee experience. um, Leveraging automation in the, let's say, the store environment, like you've seen with especially large retailers in terms of distribution centers and back end of the stores, is starting to manage the labor challenges. So we're starting to see these strategies come to life. From a consumer perspective, you're seeing that the use of AI is becoming more prevalent. Consumers in the report have said that they're starting to engage more with AI technologies. Those would be those AI is on top of every executive's mind. So how do you adopt AI in a responsible manner, addressing consumers' concerns around data privacy and biases are some of the critical strategies that, from a consumer-facing perspective, companies need to adopt.
Right. I was going briefly through the report and I saw the statistics that we mentioned in the report. They are so informative. Like,
Yes.
I believe like a lot of small retailers as well as, other retailers get a good benefit out of it. Like, thanks for offering a roadmap for small retailers to align with current consumer expectations and stay competitive. Now, when we are talking about generative AI, and as everyone know, AI is transforming purchasing behaviors and is not only being used by Generation Z. Like as per the report, half of the Canadian shoppers have replaced traditional search engines with the generative AI for product and service recommendations, with 56% of millennials and 46% of Generation X turning to AI tools. Vinayak, in your perspective, what are the specific ways in which generative AI is altering, like, consumer purchasing habits, and what should small business retailers be aware to adapt to this technological evolution?
SK, you called out some of the stats which I was going to say, but that's really good intel that we have provided. Uh, as you can see, consumers are starting to they want retailers to basically provide recommendations and insights about their personalized products and behaviors. Think of it this way: when you shop, if you're searching for a product, going through pages and pages of information sometimes is not ideal. So through generative AI and large language models, you are able to now improve that experience for the customer, because they know you're responding to their almost their exact needs. So that is something which is critical across the domain to leverage for retailers. From a small and medium enterprise perspective, looking at how they can improve customer queries in terms of service requests and improve the response rates, but also start to evolve that into recommendation models is something that we're seeing as evolving patterns. So if a customer is making a specific request about a certain post-purchase decision, how do you incorporate that with a loyalty feedback? And then you ask the customer for information which would then give the loyalty component and then influence the next purchase. So responsibly using AI, thinking about your data strategy in how you're collecting that data from the consumer and then bringing that back to the consumer through recommendations is something which is going to be critical across every retailer's future in the coming years.
Right. Thanks for sharing that. And how can small businesses leverage AI to enhance their customer experience?
Depending on the industry, right? So different industries will have different needs. Uh, one, if you look at it in terms of the initial inspiration and consideration process, you see a lot of companies are generating AI and chatbots to be more effective in the initial engagement. So when you visit a digital channel or a website, you want to be able to engage the customer so that you are allowing the customer a direct interface with your products and services in a personalized manner. Through the purchasing journey, as you get to know the consumer better, there's an opportunity to adopt AI in influencing the purchasing decision. Post purchasing, loyalty, and advocacy is the third component. How do you follow up with the customer? Are they satisfied with your product and service? How do you re engage? And then how do you take all of that information and feed that back into your customer engagement strategy? So these are the components consumers need to look at through the value chain. They have to look at how AI can support every dimension of the value chain in the customer engagement.
Vinayak, like how Capgemini works with different businesses in in planning and developing their strategy to get connected with the customers in today's with in according to today's trends.
So, as you're aware, Capgemini, we're an international, multinational information technology services company. We have we have a variety of service lines across our cloud infrastructure, insights and data, and enterprise transformation solutions. Each of our capabilities, we engage with the customer with a focus on business value uh, transformation. So everything that we look at is we support consumers in understanding what are the key problems they're trying to solve for, what is the right fit technology that is relevant, being very clear in terms of the value to be realized from delivering this product. You do not buy technology for the sake of buying technology. It has to deliver a clear outcome. How are we then supporting them in terms of the operating model and the ability to engage the customers and their employees, driving good employee and customer experience? That, in a nutshell, is how we engage and work with customers. So if you look at it, whether we're supporting customers with their data strategy, whether we're supporting with their enterprise transformation, these are critical domains where we identify the business value to support that.
Now coming back to generative AI, Vinayak, can you share your key piece of advice for retailers when it comes to generative AI? Yeah, how they can utilize it more for understanding the trends and adapting to the different technologies at the current time beings.
So you see a lot of companies are investing in their own generative AI technologies. Now, companies need to be cognizant of that. As you see in the report, um, consumers are concerned about privacy. What data is being shared? How is the data being used? How is consent being managed? So that is a critical component in respecting consumers' privacy constraint. The second part of it is how are they actually, what is the source of information that they are leveraging to actually start to inform the recommendation? Now, if you look at something as terms, one of my favorite use cases in the report is pertaining around diet plans. So how do you come up with planning my meals for the week and the diet plans, which then influences my shopping decisions? That is something consumers need, are interested in. But where am I sourcing that information from? Am I crediting the content developers around that? These are aspects of the strategy that retailers and SMEs need to take into consideration as to where are they sourcing that information and how are they using that information to influence the consumers' purchasing patterns.
Thank you so much for sharing this advice with our listeners. The potential of generative AI you have highlighted opens up exciting, avenues for small businesses to innovate in customer engagement. Now, adapting to retail trends is crucial for business success. Vinay, can you discuss the evolution of retail trends in recent years and how businesses have had to pivot in response to these changes?
Okay, that's always a fun question for me. You know, pre-COVID, the focus was how do we start to improve digital adoption? How do we start to improve digital advocacy? Get people to use application apps more effectively. I think what happened with the pandemic was that it accelerated the digital program. It accelerated the data programs that organizations had to do globally. And a couple of the interesting components which came out of that was uh, the trends changed from going to in store to different models like buy online, pick up in store, home delivery. And one of the key aspects of the report, as you've seen, which has been consistent year on year, is that delivery and fulfillment is critical to customers. and consumers are willing to pay a premium for convenience and speed of delivery.
This is what I think Amazon has like find out way back, and they
Yes.
have invested a lot in this fields, right?
Exactly.
Right.
But what's interesting is Amazon is dealing with the volume based, but when you're dealing with day-to-day customers in day-to-day, let's say retail market, apparel, grocery, fashion, what you're going to see is that you want the customers want same day delivery. They want that engagement, and they will pay for that premium. So those are some of the trends that we're seeing, which have changed over the last over the last 3 to 4 years, but are going to stay and be consistent. Now, that being said, it hasn't changed the in-store. What the consumers want from in-store is they want the same experience. The same way they get a recommendation on the app, they want to see that similar recommendation through a digital channel when engaging in the store. So retailers have to now start to rethink how they view their store as well as their digital channel and create the unified experience for the consumer. It's no longer, in my view, omni-channel, it's unified channel.
Right, as you rightly said, like it's no longer omni-channel. It's like providing a unified experience
Exactly.
in person or online is very, very critical and very, very important. As everyone knows, like daily in new technology and new trend, and like it's coming up. Like, what lessons can small businesses learn from these new technological adaptations?
So I think there's an important facet to understand. It's like there are going to be new technology advancements coming up every day. There's new customer segments. We live in interesting times. As you mentioned in the report, you see that the customer segmentation runs from baby boomers to Gen Zs, right? We have had the highest digital evolution in the last 10 years, right? We've gone from, to 5G, we've gone to AI, generative AI. So you can't chase everything. You have to identify what technology advancement suits your business strategy and what your future of your business looks like. If you're in the grocery industry, your strategy will be very different from fashion apparel. And you need to consider that. You need to understand consumer trends in terms of which market segment you're going to go after, and you can maybe focus. That will give you the 80/20 principle. So there are some components that, yes, there are universal components like generative AI, which will benefit your business. But there are certain technologies which you will invest in, which focus on where your business is going. And I think that is a critical component businesses need to look at is you can't chase the whole field.
Right. As you rightly said, Vinayak, like understanding consumer trends is very, very important. Like, what is the easiest way? As you know, like small businesses or retailers, they are busy in running their business. Like, if you'd mind, like, sharing, like, what is the easiest way to understand the changing consumer trends?
So, SK, there's a lot of data points coming out. Consumers need to invest in adopting better CRM technologies and utilizing their CRMs more effectively, because that's a host of information for first party data. I think there are third-party data sources that companies need to consider to bring in, which would improve the insights that they have around consumer behaviors and trends. And then there's, of course, partnering with companies to be able to understand how they can evolve their strategy to support it. So data is going to be a critical component in how they build their strategies. And the second part is where do they spend their money, investment dollars in supporting those decisions out of data.
Thank you for sharing that. And like when your real world examples bring to the life the challenges and opportunities within the retail sector, offering practical insights for our listeners. Like small businesses face unique challenges in adapting to market changes. What advice would you give to small business or retailers striving to keep pace with the rapid changes in consumer behavior and technology?
So I think, SK, another component you need to consider is some of the pressures from a globalization perspective. If you see in our report, consumers are concerned about stock out. Consumers are concerned about not getting the products they want across critical segments of the retail landscape. So especially in grocery and apparel and in healthcare. Um, local SME, local producers, local SMEs need to keep a look on that and cater to that response. Why this is also important is from a sustainability standpoint of view, we are seeing consumers starting to become more focused on buying local. and they want to buy products that are made and produced in country. There's a reason for that because of the sustainability measures. They have more, I guess, bit more trust in the way the sustainability and the measures that companies are putting in manufacturing products today, with the lens on environmental change and sustainability. The other aspect you're looking at is they want retailers to be more transparent in the way they're producing, on how they're producing information. So it was very interesting for me to see the report that it takes, I don't know, the amount of water it takes to manufacture a pair of jeans that we're wearing,
Yeah.
right? And that's interesting. Consumers want to know, how can they improve that? How do they reuse it? All of these dimensions are information points that retailers need to look at and start to in, influence their strategies going forward.
Right. Vinayak, are there any specific areas where small businesses or retailers should focus their resources for maximum impact?
I think, in my personal opinion, I think automation and adopting AI would be the two key areas to actually drive that. One is consumers want to see operational costs coming down. They want to see those costs coming to them. It's not only about the profit for the consumers. They want to be able to buy more products, but with cost constraints, they are unable to do so. So if you are able to reduce the cost of production through automation and pass on that benefit to the consumers, your consumers will reward you by loyalty and as financial situations improve, bigger baskets. On the AI side, it's a combination of data and AI. Investing in that is going to be critical in terms of consumer behaviors and responding to consumer needs, both across the purchasing life cycle as well as in the service life cycle.
Okay. A conversation, Vinayak, you have mentioned sustainability quite a few times.
Yes.
I want to ask these questions for our listeners. Like, how can businesses become more sustainable?
That's a very loaded question, SK. Very loaded. Sustainability is vast. I think there's a range of topics which are top of mind for consumers and that businesses need to keep in mind. I think in terms of, adopting more efficient ways of production, looking at, their renewables for, electricity consumption, modernizing their technology stack. All of these dimensions would be areas to improve the way small and medium enterprises can contribute in the sustainability. Visibility across their supply chain is another key component, especially if you're leveraging companies to produce parts and material and raw products. So end-to-end supply chain visibility is another key aspect that I would say is critical for retailers to keep an eye out.
Vinayak, is there anything that you would like to share with our listeners before we wrap up?
I think, thank you for the opportunity, and, to the small and medium enterprises out there. I think, right now the opportunity for change is immense, and the opportunity to leverage technology to optimize your business is phenomenal. I would, recommend that you explore ways to really transform your data strategy, really focus on, innovative technologies in your production life cycle, and identifying how you transform the journeys and experiences for your consumers as well as your employees. I think this is, the next couple of years will really transform the way, companies are going to evolve and the way they engage with consumers. But I think we've got a good foundation from the trends that we've seen over the last couple of years in terms of how we're going to evolve in the future.
Thank you so much, Vinayak, for sharing your wonderful experience with us. It's been a pleasure having you on the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast.
Thank you, SK, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. As we conclude our conversation with Vinayak Ballachanda Madappa, we are left enriched with invaluable insights. Today's discussion shed light on navigating consumer financial concerns, aligning with the evolving retail landscape, and harnessing the transformative potential of generative AI. These are crucial learnings for any small business retailer aiming to stay ahead in today's dynamic market. A special thank to Vinayak for his profound expertise. We also would like to thank our partners RBC, UPS, and Zero for their support. Don't forget to subscribe to Canadian SME Small Business Magazine at canadiansme.ca for more inspiring content. I'm SK, thanking you for joining us on Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. Stay tuned for more engaging and informative episodes ahead.